Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to my Thaumcraft 4.1 mod Spotlight. That's right, Thaumcraft has just been updated to version 4.1. There's quite a few changes to what you guys are used to. A lot of them are really cool, and of course, knowing Asnor, he added a bunch of really neat and cool items with all kinds of cool different effects. So I'm going to get started covering the changes to what you're already familiar with, and then we'll move into some of the new items that are available and some other neat stuff coming up. Alright guys, let's get started checking out Thaumcraft 4.1. Alright, so the first and probably biggest change is having to do with research. So what you're going to want to do first is dig through and make yourself the thermometer. Now this guy has changed up a little bit his recipe. It's really now any two different types of shards. So it's no longer that you have to find all 6 shard types. I always personally had trouble finding the chaos shards, the Perdito entropy shards. Those guys were always tricky to find. So, you know, that was like a little bit of a gateway into getting what you needed to get started. So for now, it's a little bit easier to get started with Thaumcraft, which is a really good and nice change. So what I'm going to do here is just start scanning some items and demonstrate to you the fact that now we've got nifty new particle effects that happen every time you scan an item. So we can see here that we just scanned something and we got some neat different things happening. If I throw some cobblestone down, for example, we can see all those different particle effects flying up to the top right of my screen where my map is. And maybe even if I hide the mini map, you'll be able to see it even better. Let's throw down something like coal to scan, and there we go. So you can see it all flowing up into my little book on the top right, and on the bottom right it shows you that you've discovered stuff. The Thaumonomicon now listing all the things that you've discovered, and the aspects of magic page is pretty similar to what it was before. So what I'm going to do now is scan a bunch of items just so I have the option to show you what the new research mechanic looks like. Alright, so I've got a bunch of research notes ready to go, and I'm ready to demonstrate for you guys how this works. Now I don't know about you, but I've always found that it was really frustrating having to like a particular aspect of research or some kind of item that we want to get to, and we have to constantly randomly guess at which types of things we wanted to get to. Well, no longer is that the way things work. The research table has changed significantly. No longer do you place in pieces of paper and randomly receive different types of research. Now the way it works is you're going to go ahead and open up your Thaumonomicon, and you're going to choose what research you want to do. So for example, if I'm interested in advanced node tapping, I can go and start with that right away. But maybe I want to go and get my research expertise, which is probably pretty awesome because it's a good research to start with. It lets you research a little bit easier and better. So let's go ahead and do that. All you have to do is make sure that you have a set of scribing tools and some paper in your inventory. When you have that, you can see here, click to get a research note for this research. So simply left click on Essentia, the research expertise, and it tells you that a research note has been added to your inventory. Now we've got that research note. It used up a piece of paper and some of the ink from the scribing tools. Go ahead and place that research note for research expertise in this table, and oh boy, complicated things are happening. So what do we got going on here? So this is the new research mechanic and how things work. It's a different minigame. What's cool about this minigame is it's less time and resource intensive, but it also does make you think a little bit about what you're doing. So why don't I talk through what happens? Alright, so let's take a look at how this new research mechanic works. On the outer edge, there's a couple symbols out here. Now you might see a question mark in here. If you see a question mark, it means you haven't discovered that aspect yet. So you're going to have to go ahead and do a little bit more scanning with your Thaumonomicon before you have that aspect. So once you've got them all, you should see them all listed here. Like I said, if you don't have Cognito, for example, you won't see it. And here you'll see a question mark in its place. As we know, different aspects are made up of other aspects, typically made up of 2, except for the 6 primals. They're made up of just, themselves. So the 6 primals being the air, earth, fire, water, order, and chaos, right? Ordo and Perdito. So those different aspects are your primals, but everything else is made up of 2 other aspects. What you need to do is link the icons that are currently here by dragging and dropping aspects from the left-hand side into the table. And the only way you'll be able to connect 2 nodes next to each other is if those aspects either make up each other or are combined to make each other. So for example, let's look at census is a good example to go with right here. What we've got is census is made up of air and spiritus. So if we put air or spiritus next to census, they'll link up to each other. Okay, so let's try that now. I'm going to go ahead and drag air right into here. And you can see as I'm dragging it, we get this little blinking yellow icon. And we place it down, there's a little line connecting each other. Okay, now let's take a look at water, for example. Water and air do not link to each other. So because of that, we've got a darkened icon. We can right click to remove it, but we don't get the research point back. So we lost our water research, our aqua. So make sure to put down the right icons next to each other. Okay, so let's combine something next to air that we can make our way towards cognito. So what makes up cognito? Let's take a look at the aspects of magic. Cognito is made up of terra and spiritus. Okay, so if I were to put spiritus down, how could we link spiritus to air? That's a good question. Let's find out. Well, you know what we could do? We could put a census next to it. Okay, that'll work. So let's go find census. There it is. Those two link to each other because air is made from, or census is made up of air. Okay, and then finally we can put down spiritus because census is made up of spiritus and air. And cognito is made up of terra and spiritus. So if we put spiritus here, these guys connect. Nice. So we've got these lines connecting. Now we got to get ordo into the mix. So let's figure out how we can do that. Well, ordo can be made up of the following. So let's try this route. If I put humanus next to cognito, these two link up. The reason for that being that humanus and cognito come together because humanus is made up of cognito. Okay. Next to that, I'm going to try and get fabrico, which is a combination of humanus and instrumentum. So fabrico should be able to go next to humanus here. Do I have any fabrico? I might not. I do. Okay, good. So there we go. Those two connect up. And then finally, if we take a look at fabrico, we'll see that it's made up of instrumentum. So I can place instrumentum next to this guy. And instrumentum is made up of ordo. So if I place instrumentum here, the fabrico is made up of instrumentum, instrumentum is made up of ordo, and now we've got a nice line. Now you don't have to do a straight line around. We could have connected here and then here if we wanted to, or we could connect like 3 spokes. It can really kind of do it however you want. So unlike in the previous version of the research minigame, you would have to just have a straight line connecting all of them. You no longer have to do that. Okay, and now we've got our research discovery, research expertise. I'm going to go ahead and heavily recommend that this be the first one you guys get because it's super duper useful. You've become more proficient at performing research. Whenever you remove an aspect that you place in a hex, there's a 25% chance that you'll regain the aspect point. You are also able to see what aspects you need to combine to create an aspect you are hovering over. So if we come over here, now when we hover over it, we'll see that there's water and order that are part of this. So no longer after you've gotten this one research point, it's the first one I recommend you get. You don't have to flip through and look at your aspects of magic in the Thaumonomicon anymore. Go ahead and just hover it over on the table and you'll be good to go. Let's go through another one just to recover. So research mastery. I'm going to click on this guy and we've got our first research notes for research mastery. Let's see what we've got in here. There's 4 notes. Okay, cool. So cognito is made up of terra and spiritus. Okay. Let's see what else do we got in here. Vacuous and potentia, ordo. Okay, all kinds of cool stuff. So I'm going to try and figure out a nice path to go down here, and then I'll be back to show you guys how it worked out. So what I've got here is I connected these lines as so. Modus is made up of order and air, so those are connecting. Bestia is made up of modus and life, so those are connecting. And then I put life there because life is made up of earth and water. So if we took it Victus here, we can see earth and water, and cognito being made up of earth and spiritus. So that's how those guys connect. Let me get the other ones in. So for here, I went vacuous, which has air as part of it. Then I threw down air, spiritus being, or census made of air and spiritus. So spiritus is next to the census, and then cognito is made up of spiritus and earth. So that connected there. So we've got this line connecting like that. And then the final connection, I went vacuous, has perdito in it. Perdito makes up vinculum. Vinculum has modus in it. Modus is made up of air. And census is also made up of air. So we got this connection going on. And then we got research mastery. Pretty neat, right? So it's a pretty cool minigame. It's really not too bad. And once you've gotten the hang of it, like go through this a couple times, the first 1 or 2 you go through are going to be rough. I'm not going to lie. You're going to be like, whoa, this is a lot harder. But once you go through it a couple times, you'll be a lot better at it. You can see here, you get a 50% chance to regain the research point, so it makes it even easier to do research. There's a 10% chance that whenever you place an aspect, that it will not cost any research points to do so. That's cool. Lastly, you are able to combine aspects in the research table by control clicking on the aspect you wish to create. If you have enough of the component aspects, they will automatically combine to create the clicked aspect. That's pretty cool. Nice. And now, finally, there's a research duplication mechanic. Ooh, I definitely want to check out what's involved with this. So here you can see an example of an aspect I do not know. So I'm guessing, all right, it wasn't that one. Aha, it turns out it was permutatio. So there's the solution to the one I just did. And of course, there's many different ways that you can go about this. Let's see what's involved in research duplication. So you can see here you've discovered a way to copy a completed research note. When you complete research or place a completed research note in the research table, you will see a star icon. Clicking this will create a copy of this research as long as you are carrying paper and ink and have enough aspects available. The more copies are created of the research, the more expensive copying will become. So you can start sharing other individual research points, which is pretty neat. Now there's a different change that came along with this guy. Why don't I track down exactly how I'm going to demonstrate this to you? To get started, I think I'm going to need a little bit of alchemy. I'm trying to show a good example of another change. One of the really cool parts of this is that no longer do you have to research everything. You'll discover that some things in the table here are circles, some are squares, and some are hexagons. So a hexagon doesn't need to be researched in the table. All you need to do is make sure you have enough aspects on the tooltip. So here it tells you for 5 Iter, 3 Terra, and 3 Volatus, you'll be able to get the paving stone of travel simply by clicking on it. Boom. Now we've researched the paving stone of travel. So not everything needs to be researched anymore. And most of the time it's going to be subcomponents of things you've already discovered. One good example is the way that you can throw different metals into the crucible. If you just research iron transmutation, you'll be able to get all the other ones by just clicking on them like that. So anything here that you've got blinking in as a hexagon, you'll be able to just click on. You can see here I don't have quite enough modus and vinculum to get this guy. So let's go ahead and get a couple more in the table by just going over to modus and control clicking on it. Nice. Now of course I'm using up the subcomponents of the aspects. So keep that in mind. But now I've got enough and I should be able to purchase the paving stone of warding. Awesome. So not everything needs to be researched, which is really cool. It definitely makes things a little bit quicker. So you really just have to research the main, different items out there, and that is awesome. Now, finally, there's one other method of getting research. Sometimes there's specific items that you're going to have to scan. Now, we can see here that we've discovered a clue to a new research by scanning this brain. Interesting. What is that all about? Well, it's really pretty straightforward. What it means is that certain things, like the brain in a jar, you have to scan an item before that becomes available in the research table at all. So there's certain items that you need to scan to be able to unlock certain researches. It's few and far between, and you'll know they're the way they are because they have an orange background. So we can see here now brain in the jar is available to be researched. Of course, once we get the required prerequisites, we'll be able to research that guy. But until you scan the brain, he won't be listed in here at all. So now that I've gone ahead and showed you guys how research works, I've gone ahead and given myself a cheaty Thaumonomicon, and for that, I get to show you guys all the new and cool items. Things like magic staves. Ooh, that sounds cool. I can't wait to check those out. Some different wand cores and wand foci, some different nifty stuff that you can play with. Let's take a look at all these new items that are available here in Thaumcraft 4.1. The first one I want to show you is listed under Artifice, and it's another type of arcane lamp. We've seen the Lamp of Growth, which encourages things to grow. Now we've got the Lamp of Fertility, which casts a romantic light on things. This is a pretty nifty light. Basically, any living creatures bathed in this gentle pink glow will be in a romantic mood, seeking other kinds to mate. There has to be less than 8 of a particular type of species present, so if you get it up to 8 of the same species, it'll stop working. This prevents it from just going on forever and having a ridiculous amount of animals in the same chunk. And it requires Victus Essentia to function, which you can either feed it with a nearby jar or you can feed it directly with some Essentia tubes. Okay, so same way that the Lamp of Growth works for growing plants, the Lamp of Fertility helps to cause animals to mate. So let's get ourselves a couple of cows. What do you say? We'll spawn a pair of these guys right in here, and we'll place the Lamp of Fertility nearby. All we have to do is get a jar and get some Victus inside. Ta-da! And what should happen here is now this Victus jar will go ahead and activate. There it goes. And the cows are much closer friends now. There you go. Way to go, guys. So it's a neat way to cause the following things to happen. Loving it. So that's a new type of lamp. Now another upgrade that we can kind of go along with this is the Essentia mirror. This is going to be very cool and useful for a lot of your builds. If we take a look in here, we can see that not only can now you transport items using the magical mirrors, you can also transport Essentia. Now this is only going to allow you to transport Essentia to items like the lamp that require one of those little Essentia bubbles to flow from the jar into the lamp. So let's demonstrate how that works. Basically, you place your jar of Essentia wherever you need it to be, and then you place your mirror nearby. And then you right-click on the mirror with one in your inventory to link them together. And now we've got this Essentia mirror, which is linked to this one, the same way the item mirrors work. Now if we come over here and we were to break this thing, for example, and replace it, he now needs Essentia. So let's make sure he gets it by placing the Essentia mirror nearby. Okay, what's going to happen is the Essentia is going to flow through the mirror and into the lamp. Pretty cool. So it's a nice way to magically transport your Essentia from point A to point B. This is going to be very useful on builds where you have multiple lamps of growth out there and you want to just have one place where you're using herba, or something along these lines where you might want to have a couple different farms set up and you don't want to have a separate Victus generation for every farm. Very neat. Now on the topic of Essentia, things have changed a little bit with the Essentia tubes. Now they're a little bit more restrictive in how you can use them. You're going to want to use, if you have a bunch of jars set up around one alchemical furnace like this, you're going to want to probably use the golems for filling them. Tubes are more for specified and focused use. Let's demonstrate how things have changed. So for now, if we were to consider the system that we used to build in the past, where we'd set something up like this, this really won't work anymore. And I'll demonstrate why. Let's take a look. If we were to grab one of the new items, the Essentia Resonator, this guy's going to tell you how much suction there is in your network. So right now, basically, your jars are going to suck at a level of 32. So the higher the suction, the more it's going to pull towards this jar. So this is pulling with a rate of 32. And 1 block away, it's 31. 2 blocks away, it's 30, etc., etc. So at this point, it's pulling at a level of 29. And up here, it's pulling at a level of 28. Now, there's nothing inside these alembics yet, so let's go ahead and place a piece of cobblestone in there. The cobblestone is going to break down, as we know, into saxum and perdito. Well, we've got a problem. We've managed to pull the saxum out, and it went through here, and it went ahead and landed in the jar. And we can see here that now the jar is contains 1 saxum, and it's also sucking for saxum. So it's pulling down only saxum. It says, give me all the saxum you can find. And it's pulling at a rate of 32, 31, 30, 29, etc. And now up here, it's pulling at 28, and up here, it's pulling at 27. So it's only worried about saxum, this entire pipeline. And we can see here, the perdito is stuck in here, and it won't be allowed out because nothing is pulling for perdito. Now, if I were to go ahead and place down an empty jar here, we'll see that we have a problem. We know that because there's gas escaping. That's indicating that there's a conflict within the pipes here, that there's some kind of perdito trying to make its way down here, or something is trying to make its way down here. We know it's perdito because we've got untyped suction competing with saxum suction. So we can't get the perdito out because the saxum suction is stronger than the perdito suction. Okay. Now, if we had placed this guy a little bit closer, we'll see what happens now is that the perdito makes its way in because the perdito suction was stronger than the saxum suction. Now, if we were to go ahead and drop another piece of cobblestone in here, we're going to have a problem again because the perdito will manage to make its way down, but the saxum won't. It's going to get stuck right here. Look at that, because we're only sucking along this line for perdito now, because that's the stronger of the two. So you're really only going to be able to use your tubes for things that are a little bit more specialized. Now, if you want, this is a good place to go ahead and use the valves if you want to continue using it the way you might have in the past. So the filtered Essentia tube, that's one way to go about it, or you can use the valves here. So let's take a look at valves. I think I've got some. And we were to come over here and break these guys, put a valve in, and then connect them along the top like this. Okay, and what we can do now is we've still got the saxum trapped in there. Let's, just for demonstration purposes, loop it around the back. So now the saxum is still stuck inside, but if we disable this valve and we allow this guy to come up here, this should allow the saxum to come down. because this guy is open and this guy is closed. And let's see if this will tell us that information. So we're now sucking for saxum. This has no suction applied because it is closed. Okay, so now along the whole line we're sucking for just saxum. So we'll see here the saxum will come in, but the predito will get stuck until we close this off and open this up, and now the predito should be allowed in. There it goes. You can also apply a redstone signal here if you want to toggle the state. So if we threw down a lever, it's a nice way to toggle the state of these valves, which allows for a little bit more automation. Now, finally, with these alembics, you can no longer place an empty jar underneath them to drain the essentia out. So that's not going to work anymore. It's not going to drip in there. And you're also able to, if you want, to label these things. This is going to be more useful a little bit later on, but you can label them to make sure that certain aspects are always going to land in them. So in the past, it might have put predito on the top, it might have put it on the bottom. It would just randomly choose where the predito and the saxum went. But when you have some of the alchemical constructs we're going to see in a few minutes, you're definitely going to find the ability to label your alembics to be a lot more useful. You'll see this in just a moment. So for now, you can also note that you can label these guys. So let's look at another change to Essentia, something that's really awesome and helpful, the alchemical construct. So to build this guy, first off, you're going to want to have a heat source, be it nitor or flame or lava. On top of that, you're going to place a crucible, and then 2 alchemical constructs right on top. Give this guy a hit with a wand. Ta-da! And you've got this awesome device right here. Oh boy, complicated and scary looking, but trust me, it's not too bad. Let's figure out how to use it. Basically, this is an automated form of alchemy within Thaumcraft. So basically it allows you to, what you could usually create by dropping items into a crucible, you can now automatically craft by using this nifty mechanic. So let's take a look at, for example, nitor. Nitor is one of the things that you're probably going to want to have a lot of. Elementum as well. So nitor is made by throwing some ignis, lux, and potentia aspects into a crucible, and then throwing some glowstone dust on top. And that's going to combine to create nitor. If we were to take glowstone dust, like so, and drop it in the interface here, you'll see that the output potential is nitor, and it's going to tell you exactly what it needs: ignis, lux, and potentia. Cool. So if we were to pipe these liquids or these essentia into here from a nearby crucible system, for example, you'll get exactly what you need. So let's give it a shot, shall we? So let's give this guy a shot, shall we? All we have to do is hook up something to start cooking up what we need. So coal will give us the potentia and ignis, and torches will give us the lux that we need. So let's go ahead and start burning them up. I've got a bit of elementum here ready to go. I'm going to throw some coal in one side. I'm going to throw some torches over here. Those will start cooking up what we need. Now's a good time maybe to label your stuff, because you'll want to make sure that the same aspects are always going into the alembic. So labeling them will definitely help you out. What I'll do is run some piping like that. You can also right-click your pipes with your wand here, and it'll prevent them from connecting, which is definitely useful. So now we've got this stuff pumping into here, and then finally we'll want to pump this guy right into here, and we should start seeing the creation that we want to have. All we need to do to activate this guy is to right or left click on the nitor here, and you'll see it'll start sucking in the aspects it needs. It'll use up a piece of glowstone, and it'll spit out some nitor directly in front of it. Cool. You can also place an inventory in front of this thing, so if we wanted to, we could place a chest here, and it would dump out into the inventory instead of just spitting out onto the ground. Pretty nice. So this is how you can automatically create what you want to make, and you'll see a little icon on the front representing what's being created. You can mouse over here to see, if you're wearing goggles of revealing, what aspects are going into it. So it's an awesome way to automate the creation of a couple things. Now if you're really creative, you can come up with some good ways to void out the aspects you don't need, combine different aspects, and don't forget that you also have that alchemical centrifuge. So if you wanted to, you could do some really creative builds with this. I've seen people do some pretty crazy stuff with this already. So definitely an interesting mechanic. Now, of course, once you run out of a certain number of aspects, so for example, we've probably run out of lux at this point because we're out of torches, you'll see that it kind of gets stuck at that point, and it won't draw in any more until it gets the lux that it needs. So if we threw a few more torches in here, it'll start running once again. Hooray! Pretty neat mechanic, and it's a really nice way, because honestly, there's a lot of stuff that can sometimes be a hassle to make, and this really makes it a lot easier for you. Now, by default, your this thing right here is only able to store one recipe. So if I wanted to make some nitor, we're stuck making nitor. If I decide I want to start making alimentum, I could go ahead and put alimentum in here, but it won't let me go ahead and start crafting it. It can only craft one item at a time. Of course, you could also throw in a pneumatic matrix. This guy, when placed adjacent to this thing, increases the number of recipes it can hold by 2. So now I can go ahead and say, I want you to be making nitor, but I'm going to take the glowstone out of here, and I also want you to have the potential to make alimentum. So what it'll do is it'll start drawing some ignis and some perdido and stuff like that, and it'll craft whatever it makes depending on which item is in the slot here. So now it's able to make both of these guys, whatever item lands in the slot, which you can pipe them in with any of the normal piping mechanics, thermal expansion, buildcraft, etc., and then it'll start drawing the aspects it needs to make that item. Pretty neat. So you can get up to 3 total if you've got one of these added, and if you get yourself another one of them, you'll be able to have 5 total. So if we throw this maybe back here and take a look at the interface now, you can see we've got 5 total that we can have. Cool. Now let's get on to some of the nifty items and toys that we can play with. First off, we've got the bone bow. Basically, you infuse it with some entropy shards, and you'll get yourself a bow that fires much faster, and the arrows that shoot from it go a lot further. Look at that. Nice. So that's a much more powerful bow than what you might get as a standard bow. And of course you can enchant it with all kinds of good enchanting stuff. So you can put on whatever you want here that you would normally be able to put on a bow. So the bone bow is just an upgraded bow available from Thaumcraft. Next up, we see that we finally got back the arcane door. Pretty similar functionality to the past, where the arcane door can only be opened by the player that placed it. But you can also craft yourself some keys. If you right-click on a door with an iron key, whoever you give this key to can open the door. But they can't break it, and they can't give out other iron keys unless they have a gold key. If you right-click on the door with a gold key, you now have a key that allows players to open it. The player who holds this can remove it, and then the player can also give other iron keys out, but only the person who originally placed the door can go ahead and give out golden keys. Okay, we've also got the arcane pressure plate, which we can set to 3 different settings: everything except you, just me, or everything in total. So for example, with the everything mode, even items will open this thing. With the mode of everything except you, everything will open it except me, the player, but any other players can open it, no problem. Cool. And then finally, we've got an option here called Just You, which only me, the person who placed down the pressure plate, can access it. And similar to the way the doors work, you can hand out keys for your pressure plates. Now, to go along with this, we used to have warded stone. Warded stone was cool. However, Azenora has gone ahead and gone completely crazy and made something even better than warded stone. You ready for this? He made the wand focus of warding. This is cool. Now, also to go along with the wand focus of warding, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple more foci here. I'll even get myself a focus pouch to demonstrate something new in the focus mechanics. So I'll get the fire, I'll get the lightning, I'll get excavation and equal trade. I'll put all these guys in the pouch. You don't need the pouch to do this, but hey, it's a nice way to demonstrate. When you want to go ahead and change your wand focus, normally you would hit F and it would cycle through the different foci. Now when you hold F, you get this ridiculously cool little interface right here that just spins up out of nowhere, and you're able to mouse over and select which one you want to have. So for example, if I want the wand focus of equal trade, I simply left click on it, and now I can go ahead and wand focus equal trade things. Cool. Hold F again to get your interface back, and I'll demonstrate for you the new one called the wand focus of warding. Anything that you go ahead and right click on here will become a warded block. Ta-da! And now it's enchanted with magical runes and can no longer be broken by the usual old method of hitting it with a drill. That's right, this guy is now stuck. And when you have the wand focus of warding equipped on your wand, you're going to go ahead and be able to see any warded blocks that you've placed down. How cool is that? So anything in the world can be protected in this manner. Pretty much any normal block. I'm going to say 99% sure that tile entities aren't going to work. I'm going to assume that, yeah, see, so it's not letting me right-click on that guy. It's not letting me right-click on this thing. So anything that's considered a tile entity, aka something that operates or functions or machines, aren't going to work in this manner, but any other block will. And it's really cool. I mean, look at that. And of course, you know, Azenora adds crazy, ridiculously awesome particle effects that just make you smile when you see something that cool. So pretty neat. Right click again to remove the protective wards protecting the block and make it just a normal old block again. How cool is that? Next up, we've got a new type of armor called Rune Armor, and it's kind of a stretch to call it armor because it's not actually armor like you would normally wear. It's actually just some protective magics that infuse your player with some runic defense. So it doesn't even render on your player when you're wearing it. So if you take a look here, my player no longer looks like he's wearing armor. He's actually just got this magical stuff on. Each piece of armor has some value of charge to it, and it's going to absorb some amount of damage and drain that charge. And then that charge is going to regenerate itself over time. You can see they're a little bit expensive to create, but they're definitely worth it. Let me demonstrate how cool this thing is. First off, I'm going to equip my armor. Look at my health bar now. I'm going to equip my armor, and now take a look at my health bar. That's right, it demonstrates the protective magics surrounding me. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a couple enemies to start battling. Let's get ourselves some zombies who might give me a run for my money if I wasn't wearing any armor. Here goes nothing. And I'm even going to jump out into third-person mode just because it looks really cool. You can see here this protective shield, and it's blocking me from absorbing any damage. Look at that. How cool. Nice. Now, eventually these magical runes are going to wear off. Right now they're recharging over time, but they will eventually wear down, and that'll be a problem for me. So if I do take too much damage, those runes will break down, and I'll start taking normal damage. I'll have the protection equivalent to about leather armor if I don't have any of this protective magic on, but you can see it slowly recharging itself over time. Nice. You can also infuse these pieces of armor with some nifty effects. So if we come over to the Thaumanomicon, I'm not going to demonstrate them for you, but I will show you the runic upgrades. You can upgrade only one at a time, but what's cool is they'll overwrite each other. So if you put on energetic and then you want to switch it to augmented, just put it down and set it up to run, and it'll overwrite energetic with augmented. And basically energetic will cause it to replenish its charge more quickly. Augmented increases the total number of charge it has. Kinetic feedback, I think, does a little bit of damage when your shielding runs out, and revitalizing feedback gives you a little bit of a health buff when you have your thing run out. You can also get hardened, which doubles the amount of mundane armor protection, which protects you more so when the shield is out. And then finally, emergency shielding. When the shield is breached, this upgrade will instantly add 8 or more charge spread amongst the armor pieces you're wearing. Cool. And you can see here you need to do some arcane infusion. You take whichever runic armor you're wearing and infuse it with different abilities like so. So you can see what you've got going on. Pretty neat, right? I like it. And just because there's really cool stuff that you might want to do with your runic armor, you can infuse Goggles of Revealing with the runic headpiece, and you'll combine them. So you basically have a runic headpiece that gives you the Goggles of Revealing effect. So you have the same V discount when you're doing stuff. It does render the Goggles of Revealing on your head, but it's a slightly different rendering. You can see the side of my head looks a little bit different than it does right now. So it's the same effect. It's basically a combination between Goggles of Revealing and runic goggles. And maybe because I asked, or maybe because he was planning to already, I said, man, I really love my Boots of the Traveler. I'd hate to have to wear this runic foot piece, but it's so cool. I want to wear both. So Aznor added for us the runic Boots of the Traveler. So again, same combination, Boots of the Traveler plus runic abilities. You won't be able to enchant these guys with haste because you can't put normal enchants on your runic chest piece. The only upgrades you can place on them are runic armor upgrades. So it's a little bit of a drawback there, but hey, I'm happy being able to run around and, oh, that's so cool, and have this awesome protective armor. And it also helps to protect you from other types of damage. There's certain things that won't protect you from, so don't think you can go jump into a lava bath. That might not be a good idea, but very awesome looking armor, plus really, really cool particle effects when you take damage. Oh yeah, that's cool. I love it. And finally, Aznor has given us a little bit of a stronger offensive weapon for our work. So what we can get from this are basically staves. Instead of wands, we can make staves. So let's take a look at the magic staves research here. Basically, it tells us that magic staves can store more V inside themselves for use with wand cores, but you won't be able to use them for like workbenches and other similar crafting mechanics. So basically, you're still going to need your staff for crafting, and you can still use it the same way you did before, or your wand you'll need for crafting, and you can use it the way you did before. But when you want to make a stave, it'll hold more magical energy inside of it, and you can do some cool stuff with it. So basically, your quartz wand core, you can also have a quartz staff core, which can hold up to 175 V of each type. And just like before, it'll slowly replenish the type of aspect that it's associated with. So the icy wand core slowly refills water, so does the icy staff core, except it can store more V. The silverwood staff core can store store up to 250 V of each type. And then finally, there's a little hidden research. So just like before I mentioned that orange research tints mean that you have to scan the right item in order to get this, well, the staff core of the primal. This guy looks nuts. It's an incredibly powerful staff. It can slowly replenish all the different types of V, and it'll also add a level of potency to any foci used with it, so it'll make all your foci more potent. Very cool. It's very expensive to craft, obviously, and it's a little bit tricky to find out what items you need to scan in order to unlock this, but it's totally worth it. So let's take a look at a staff core, for example. If I were to get we could check out the staff core of the primal here if we wanted to, but I'm also going to grab a silverwood staff core. And just like with your wands, you're going to need to place some caps on them. So I'm going to go ahead and get a charged thaumium cap, or, well, let's go ahead and get 4. So if we put this guy here and here, and we put the silverwood staff core down, oh boy, it's a lot of expensive stuff going on to make this thing. So you won't be able to craft these with thaumium caps just yet, but here's a little teaser for you. There's some crafting upgrades coming down the line that'll allow this to be possible. For now, I'll go ahead and use the gold banded, and we'll get a silverwood staff that can store a lot of V. I'll go ahead and throw it in my wand recharge station that I quickly created over here. There we go. And you'll see that it's going to be able to store a ton of stuff. And just for the fun of it, I do want to check out this staff of the primal. So let's go ahead and toss this guy in here, and we'll see. Oh yeah, going to need another recharged wand. Let's get a full one out of NEI. And now we've got this gold banded staff of the primal, which looks pretty cool, and we can see it's already starting to recharge. Pretty much every one of the aspects can be automatically recharged, and just like before, you can add different kind of things to it here. That is really cool looking. Nice. And this guy collecting up to 250 of each aspect, very cool. I like it. Very, very cool. And with that, guys, I think we're going to wrap up this rather long mod spotlight on Thaumcraft. I didn't want to split it into 2 parts because I was pretty much close to wrapping up. So you guys got a little bit of a long video today, but I hope you enjoyed checking out all the cool stuff that's been added and changed within Thaumcraft for version 4.1. It's pretty awesome. I really, really think it's a neat way to do things. There's so many cool different items that are available now, and I think my favorite, I'm going to go ahead and name a favorite item that got added in here. It's going to have to be the wand focus of warding. That is just the coolest part of this upgrade and this change. I mean, how cool is that? I think it's neat. Wand focus of warding, you're around here somewhere. I didn't cover the wand focus of primal. Maybe I'll show that off real quick now. That's another one that's probably a little bit tricky to find, but it's neat. It definitely does some cool stuff. Just watch out where you shoot it. I wouldn't recommend playing with this inside your house. Alright guys, for now, this is Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. We've got a lot of cool changes to Thaumcraft 4.1, and there's new stuff coming down the line pretty soon. So stay tuned for any upgrades and additions added by Thaumcraft. Direwolf20 signing off. Take it easy!